Hi, this is Brian Icenhower. Welcome today. I am very excited by a special guest that's going to help me. Our special guest is someone that I have known for more than a decade now. And over that period of time, I've got to firsthand watch her train and coach many agents on a lot of different things. But the one thing that I have always been absolutely impressed by was her ability to coach the buyer conversion process. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I think it's very important, especially with all the changes to the industry, about the importance of buyer consultations, how we disclose compensation, and why we must demonstrate value based upon all the changes and requirements with how a real estate agent is going to practice. And the person that's going to do it is the one and only Shelly Koenigsfeld. Shelly, welcome today.
Hello, 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 hello.
Shelly is from Kansas City, Missouri. And so she is logged in with me. And Shelly, let's just get right into it. Like I know you love to do. But let's start at the very beginning. Before we talk about the actual consultation, talk about, because you need to set the consultation. A lot of people aren't used to doing that.
Yeah,
I know that's important to you, and it's always been important to you, right? I mean, this is nothing new.
yeah. I bring everybody in before we go to look at a house, just part of my process and making sure they understand and I understand how we're going to work forward.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the fact that agents didn't do that for so long that we have to do it now.
Yeah, which they should have been doing all along. So now it's time to get on board and do it.
That's correct. I think, and what you said is to make sure we all understand. Otherwise, there's a lot of confusion. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's happened. And I think that's why there's lawsuits, is people don't understand how they're getting paid and why they're getting paid and why it works this way. But if we were just, more of us were to simply sit down and have consultations and define those expectations. So when that phone call comes in, what do you say to them?
So once they go in, first of all, I just ask them a lot of questions, making sure they understand that what they are wanting is important to me, right? What interested in that home? What area are you looking for? How many bedrooms, bathroom, garage stalls are important to you? Do you have financing? We start getting into I just ask them question after question after question till I understand who or what they want and get started on that. And then I say, that sounds really great, but what I would love to do is meet you at my office. Let's go over the buying process and then let's go over all the financials and make sure that you are ready to purchase a home. What time works best for you?
And
And I give them a couple of options.
so you just get right to it. Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I just straight up give them two or three options and generally they'll just select one and we meet at the office.
Yeah. And do you get much pushback on that?
I don't get much pushback on that. No. And I really try not to meet them at coffee shops. I feel like if you really want people to open up about their situation, you need the privacy of an office and it's just more professional.
Would a doctor meet you at a coffee shop?
Absolutely not.
Would an accountant meet you at a coffee shop? Would a
That would be
lawyer,
interesting.
would any professional meet you at a coffee shop?
Yeah, they just wouldn't, and making sure you're dressed appropriately, you brought all your materials, you're giving them some value at that meeting with that, making sure that you are showing them that you are the professional.
I think it's really important. And a lot of people get that. They say, man, well, I don't know why she's so lucky and all these people. And mind you, Shelly sells a ton of real estate. So it's not like she's just got a small segment here. Like she does this more than just about anybody. There is a method to Shelly's process where she sets an expectation out there that it makes the buyer feel like, okay, I better just do what she says. She's clearly a professional. She knows what she's doing. And
Absolutely.
that's because she does not have any hesitation in her voice that I'm in charge now. Here's what we're doing. She takes control. Like you said, she asks a lot of questions. She doesn't answer a lot of questions. She asks why. She's the professional. She knows what they need to know.
Yeah, just like any other professional, you would hate to go to, just like you said, a doctor's office, and then you're leading the appointment. That would get a little awkward.
Yeah. So what else do we need to know about me, doctor? You know what I mean? Do you think we
Yep.
should like cut my fingernails, or you know what I mean? Like what else? You expect the doctor to kind of you get to relax when you go there. You shouldn't have to be thinking hard. The doctor's going to take control. I can just relax and let them drive the bus. And if you are strong in establishing your process and unwavering in it, This is how we do it. And here's why. It really sets a professional tone. And it's not like anything that is coming out of her mouth is magical here. She's just being honest and transparent and say, this is how I do my business. And she almost has no pushback on it at all. And I found that with all top professionals that sell a lot of real estate.
Well, you also need to keep it simple, right? The more complicated you make it, even when you're asking the questions or giving the directions, I feel like that also gives them reasons possibly to not like you. Honestly, keeping it very, very simple makes it everyone feel at ease.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if you need an attorney, okay? And you call an attorney and he starts talking to you and you start saying, would it be okay if you came to my house? Or instead, how about we do it this way? And the attorney started to actually acquiesce to your needs. What if the attorney said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you halfway. I'll meet you at a coffee shop. And yeah, maybe I will do that your way. I mean, that's a pretty good idea. Can you imagine? I would lose so much confidence that I have the right attorney right now.
Yeah, I expect them to know where we're going to meet and the times we can meet.
Correct. What if they're like, whenever you want to come down, I'm just free? I mean, I would have a hard time believing that attorney is successful.
Right. Yeah.
Which means I'd have a hard time that believing he's good. If the top attorney in town that everybody wants, that if you get him as your attorney, you're just going to be a winner. And that guy's going to be like, I have availability in 2 weeks at this time. Can you make it then? That's what he would say, Yeah. And you're going to be like, yes, sir.
Plus, when you're offering up the times, that allows you to guide your own schedule and work around things like child sports or maybe your book meeting or whatever you are interested in, you can work around that as well.
Absolutely. And that initial conversation, this is, I think, the key a lot of people miss. They'll say, how do you get them to sign the buyer agency agreement? They want to, and that's later. That's obviously in the appointment when we actually do meet them in person. And they'll say, like, what do you say right then? What do you say when they say, I just want to I just want you to show me this one home? Or what do you say when they say, I want to work directly with the listing agent? Or, what do they say when you have these objections? What's that magical thing, Shelly, that you say that changes it? And quite frankly, a lot of it is done up front on the phone call. You're setting the tone. Those conversations are much less likely to happen, although we are going to cover those conversations right now. But before that, understand, they're much less likely to happen if you establish yourself as this professional that knows what they're doing, that has a system that you're expected to follow. That's why we're talking in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And bringing them to the office and having them understand the process by the end of it, it's pretty rare to get objections. Honestly, the truth is that we've already established why they need it by the end.
Right. That's correct. That's correct. That your value's been demonstrated. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's move ahead off that phone call. But I would just say wrap it up. When we have that phone call, we're going to be very assertive. We're going to ask questions, and the questions she's asking are on a typical buyer lead sheet. We provide our clients. You can Google buyer lead sheet, and I'm sure we'll come up first there, and you'll see. You can probably download a copy of it. It's also called LP Mama, right? Location, mortgage. Those are all the questions you can ask. Price. Are you working with another agent? What are those? LP, you get it all. So those are all the questions she's asking. And then the appointment at the end, I think that's all of them. Asking questions about those, and the lead sheet will give you a lot more detailed questions about those. And once she has everything she knows to do her diagnosis, then it's okay, let's set the appointment. Let's talk about it. Now she has enough to do the homework and get ready for that appointment. So then we come into the appointment. And Shelly, what does that look like?
So we're going to go over, first of all, just making it about them at the beginning before we start getting into some of the more boring things. So definitely going into their needs and wants and drilling down further into those so that they feel heard, right? So if they say, well, I want a 3-bedroom. If I found you the perfect 2-bedroom, is that going to work for you, or is that a no-go, right? Anything important to you about the basement? And then they say, what do you mean? Does it matter if it's a walkout? Does it matter if it's finished? And then every time they answer, having a question back. I really want a large primary bedroom. What does that mean to you? What sizes do you need? And just making sure that I'm drilling down and making sure they feel heard on what they want. And of course, I'm taking notes on all of this for future use during showings and before showings. Reviewing all the finances, processes of the buyer needs, making sure they understand, hey, the first thing that's going to happen is you have to find your agent and you'll sign an agreement. The second thing that's going to happen is we'll go look at homes. That's what that's going to look like. So telling them the order in which things are going to happen is going to make them understand that their first job is to find an agent.
Very good. Okay. I like that. So we're going to get through, we're going to demonstrate our value. Okay.
Yep.
I think
absolutely.
what everybody wants to know, like, okay, so, is what happens when I start objecting to you representing me like a buyer listing. So we used to call them, right? Buyer listing, like I'm tying myself to you, Shelly, through this buyer agency agreement where you're going to represent me regardless of what home we find. Maybe they come up with it could be a couple of objections, right? Hey, I just want you to see this one property I called you about. And if I buy that, then I'm cool. Let's do it. Or, yeah, I also, if I find the house on my own, I want to represent myself, or I want to work directly with the listing agent or something like that. So those are all kind of, objectives you're going to get to that buyer agency agreement. So how do we work through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually just starting to ask them questions again, right? So if they tell you, hey, my plan is to just call on the sign, go look at the property. If it's the right one, I can just make an offer with them. First thing you want to ask them is, do they truly understand, and say, you understand that they work for the seller, correct? And making sure they understand that, right? And then you have to say, okay, interesting. So let's talk about what that's going to look like, right? So what lender do you plan on using?
Right.
Do you want to role play that with me? Yeah. What lender do you plan on using? Do you have a great lender? Do you understand their rates? Do you understand their closing costs? Do you understand and know that they can work through any issues and can guarantee that they'll close that loan for you? Do you have that trusted person?
And then you just get quiet.
They do. Yeah. They want your guidance on that. Yeah. When I'm working for you, I will align you with the right people.
Yeah, I love how you just keep asking questions. So we're coming from curiosity. We're not telling them why they shouldn't. That's what I like about this. It's actually a good passive aggressive, right? What we're doing is we're helping them self-discover that maybe they could use a little bit of help. You're asking them like, have you thought about, like, on those closing costs, have you thought about how and when you might be able to get the seller to pay for those? You know what I'm saying? You're asking questions around where they're going to get their lending, what type of loan they're going to get, what type of down payment options. You're asking them, and let's say that I had all that nailed down. Well, my cousin's a mortgage lender, so I'm going to use her. She's great. Yeah. She's the best. She's been licensed for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So then you're going to go into showing homes, right? So when we go to show homes, that listing agent's working for the seller in their best interest. However, when I'm inside the home, I'm going to make sure you understand some potential issues we need to go over with inspectors. Have you understand the taxes, the HOAs, potential resale issues. We're going to establish each one of those in every home. This is a big purchase, and I want to make sure you understand what you're getting into.
Very good. I like that too. Okay. Well, won't the listing agent do some of that for me?
Well, their job is to only give you material facts, and the material facts may be the age of the roof, the age of the AC, things like that. What stays, what doesn't. But will they really tell you that the power lines in the back could cause some resale issues down the road, and that may affect some buyers? Those are important factors for you to know, but not always something that they have to disclose to you.
And oftentimes they can't disclose it because now they're violating their duty to their seller.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Let's say I'm getting through all. I don't even know how to get through some of this, but let's just say I'm getting through them. That's okay. Yeah. I think I'm still pretty good.
Yeah, I have transitions into those. So I'll just naturally transition to, okay, let's just say you find the right home and all that works out and you're ready to write that offer. How are you going to set yourself apart in these multiple offer situations?
I like that. So yeah, I got the negotiations handled. I like that. That's tough. I think that's good.
My sellers don't always accept the highest offer. It's sometimes the other things they are providing. And oftentimes my buyers aren't the highest offer. There's so many things, and my creativity and understanding the options is going to be really important in these multiple offer scenarios.
I like it. I like it. Okay. Keep going. What's the next one?
Yeah, so then we'll talk about homes that have been sitting on the market because then they may say, well, or maybe it's the winter time here, or we do have a few sitting on the market, right? What happens with those? So then I can say, okay, yeah, there are a few homes sitting on the market. And in those scenarios, other than price tag, do you understand what you can ask for?
I like it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for someone to get through this without self-discovering they could use some help here.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they say, well, the home is overpriced, I'm going to ask them, so how are you getting those comps and how are you going to interpret them in order to understand where the price needs to be? Because at that point, yeah, we got to figure out where it should have been to begin with and work our way down.
I like it. It's pretty tough. So you're demonstrating the value
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And it
throughout
goes
it.
on and on.
I want to hear about like 'cause you're going to help them with personnel too, right? I want to hear some of them because it's pretty
Yeah.
it's pretty phenomenal. Keep
Yeah.
going.
And you can ask them about inspectors and who they plan on using. They'll usually know a whole house inspector, which is fine. But what about engineers? What about sewer line? What
They
about a
usually
termite
know a
inspection?
whole house inspector. I can't imagine. I don't
So
even know a whole house inspector.
I I have some that will say they know that one, but generally they won't know any others. And you'll say, that's great. I would love to work with them. However, what about these other inspectors? There's tons of different inspectors they're going to need. And generally, they're not going to know someone who scopes sewer lines, right? And that's something that you can
Right.
provide to them.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or even understanding what inspections they're going to need. And then you just kind of work your way into appraisals. What happens if the appraisal is low and what's your plan?
Right. Right. Yeah, even
Yeah.
asking who's your appraiser going to be. You know what I mean? Even though that may be decided by the lender, asking those questions, they don't even know what's decided by the lender. They have no idea. They don't know what's normal and what's not.
I let them know in this scenario that I've never had a home fall through during an appraisal and that I will get it figured out.
I like that too. Yeah, I think when you start doing it that way, where you keep asking those questions, it actually gets me stressed out. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, that is a lot of decisions I need to make. I need to be packing. It's hard enough for me to be dealing with my job and I got to go look at houses, and find all of these. And you're probably setting them up on a listing e-alert search too, right? That's probably something that you're going over with them. So you're going to be sending them more listings that they otherwise may have not be getting. So I like that. I like how you're constantly asking questions so that they can self-discover that the answers don't come easy. You know,
Right.
that's I love that.
All of us are doing a lot for a client. So making sure you understand and have those list of things. What is it that you're providing for your clients? Sometimes I think we forget all the thousands of things it feels like we do, right? So
Right.
stopping and make a list of those things you do and read it back to them to make sure they know how to do those things, because I guarantee you they don't.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, even like what type of title policy are you going to get? Is it a CLTA or an Alta? There's big difference actually. You know what I mean? Like you start getting into those types of questions, I think they're going to start to realize maybe I'd be better off getting some help here. And I think they would. And I think you as an agent need to believe that. If this is hard to hear as an agent, I think you've got a problem. You've got one of two problems. Number one, you don't realize how much you know that the general public doesn't. That's the first thing. You're not understanding that you have a lot more knowledge, so you don't see your own value. And that's a big problem. Just your connections of how the process works is tremendous. I mean, the fact that you know how even agents were paid prior to laws changing, that they were automatically compensated in MLS. The reason that there was a lawsuit is because no one understood it. No one understood how agents were paid. You understood the process. And we just couldn't explain it to people.
Yeah, and homes have been 3%, and I've always protected my 3% as well. I establish up front that if for any reason it's less than 3%, I will certainly let them know, and they can make up that difference. If they would like a true highest fiduciary duty designated agent, and that's, and I had gone over previously some of the options that they have, but the highest option, which everyone chooses, is they want that highest fiduciary duty. In order to have that, I'm going to be paid that 3%. And I have one going on right now. It's 2.5%. I called, and when we made the offer, I said, "You be making up the difference of the 0.5%." And they said, "Absolutely no problem." They already knew up front that was going to be a thing. And if it came up, they would pay it.
Yeah. And
And they were prepared and ready.
that's because you were confident. You were
Yeah.
confident. There's a lot of people who have never even dreamed. I would say 99 point something percent of agents have never, ever even tried to have that conversation. So they can't imagine having it. But with you, it's been automatic for years and years. And you never have any problem with it because it's automatic. And you get the respect from all of your clients like a top agent would, because it shows in the way you hold yourself, the way you present, the confidence that you emanate on both the phone and in the appointment. And you're going to see top agents do that. And they're the type of agents who say, to get this house, you're going to need to offer this price. And guess what they do? They say, yes, ma'am. Let's offer that price, because they trust your opinion. Just like listing agents, like when you list a house, it's the same deal. You hold yourself in this manner, this confident manner that you know what you're doing. It relaxes them because they know that my realtor's got this. And we're just going to do the price that Shelly says because she knows. And they don't fight you. They don't.
Yeah. And I just established my value all the way, the entire time. And, when I walk inside a home, I'm truly showing the home. I'm truly looking at all the things. I'm not looking at paint colors. I'm not looking at the floor colors. I'm actually talking about things like the fact that the inspector is going to most likely bring up the fact that these gutters are not correct, that they need to be fixed. And I see aging on the roof. So that's going to be important for us to discuss with the inspector, and
Yes.
bringing up all those things and resale value, right?
Not
And
trying to
making
sell
sure
the
they understand
house.
that.
Not
Yeah.
trying to sell the house. Not saying, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. You're going to love it. Your kids would be great in here. They get all of that. You don't need to tell them that. You don't need to buddy with them. Be a professional. A professional means you're going to pick up where they need help. And they need someone to spot out. So you're demonstrating your value of, hey, we might be able to negotiate this, or an inspector might pick this up. So they're probably going to have to fix this, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as opposed to like being a pal and saying, this is so awesome. This is so beautiful. What do you think? I think it's great too. They don't need you for that. And you don't get to demonstrate any value from that. Their bestie can do that for them. Your job is to be their agent and help them, and they will not fight you. So I love how you're demonstrating what you know that they don't about the process right off the bat.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Absolutely.
Well, Shelly,
Absolutely.
this is invaluable. I love it. So I just want to recap this, guys. So when we're in that meeting, you're always asking, the minute you start to get those objections, okay? We know we're demonstrating value all the way through and we're asking questions, but that doesn't stop. The minute they start to say, hey, I don't know about signing an agreement. If they do get to that point, that means somewhere along the line, we dropped our level of professionalism below Shelly's. Because Shelly doesn't get that much, and neither do most of the top producers we work with. They just don't. So somewhere in there, we are dropping our level of professionalism, where somehow we're making it look like we're not a good negotiator. We're looking like we are vulnerable, and a good negotiator does not look like that. Okay, so, but if that does happen and they do say, yeah, I'm not really comfortable working with just you, so I don't want to sign that. That's when we start to ask questions. Okay, well, I've got questions for you for me to be able to work with you. And then we start going through those lists and asking them how they're going to do it themselves, how they're going to write the offer, how they're going to find the homes, how are they going to get financing? Who are they going to get for an inspector? Who are they going to get for an appraiser? What title company are they planning on using? Who's going to do their roof inspection? Et cetera. Who's going to do their pest control inspection? You name it, whatever it is in your area.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are getting a lot of objections, something's going wrong in your buyer's consultation. And I would highly suggest that you find an agent that will give you true feedback and do a consultation for them and let them tell you where you're falling short.
That's correct. That is the biggest problem. It's not that if you're getting a lot of objections in the first place and you're having to ask all these questions a lot, something's wrong with your consultation. Something's wrong with your tone. Something's wrong with your message. You're not showing enough value there. So practice makes perfect on that. I know, Shelly, you've done a lot of practice. Just training a lot of agents gives you a lot of practice.
Yes.
And doing this for me multiple times in my career. I appreciate you doing it once again.
Yeah, it was nice catching up with you.
Likewise, Shelly. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you being with us today. I hope this helps you guys show and demonstrate value in your buyer consultation appointments. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.